talking stream type video, and you'll notice I'm in a different room today, so I'm taking it a bit more easy. And today's topic is that you don't actually own your games that you have on your system, even some of the ones that you buy. And this is something that I have been talking about for quite some time. I've mentioned this to my kids quite a lot because they're of a different generation where they're part of this streaming generation and downloading where they don't physically buy much of their own these days, and games are now going the same way that audio is going, DVD has gone. So how many people these days buy a DVD? They wait for it to come on some kind of streaming service, um, and instead they don't physically own them. They rent them. They're part of their rental agreement or their service agreement, and just with something like Netflix, and you or well, not necessarily Netflix, but something along those lines where you're paying for a service that they're giving you a film, and at any point they can take it away from you. Games and online gaming and e-shops and storefronts, they're going the same way. And the reason this video has been sparked off is because big in the news at the minute is that Ubisoft have pulled The Crew from online stores, and some people have been given refunds for this. Now, this is a game that people have purchased. Um, I will say that it is a 10-year-old game, so it's been around for a while. Ubisoft have decided that maybe not enough people play it. I don't really know, but it's been pulled. Uh, this is a game that a bit, well, unlike Netflix where you pay for a service and they put out what they want to put out. This is a game that people have actually paid for. So it's not like Game Pass where they put games on and take it off. This is a game that people have paid a lot of money for, and now Ubisoft has decided, nope, that's it, that's the finish of that game, and they've taken it off. And people have got it on their systems. They go to play it, and it doesn't work anymore. And if you had it for 10 years, then I'd say you've got your money's worth. Those that have bought it more recently have been entitled to a refund, and they've been getting their money back for it. But it is a sign of the times, it's a sign of the age of how gaming is, and it's not one I like. I have a physical game collection. I've only recently got into buying games from a storefront, so I've got a lot of games on my Switch which I don't own physically. They are purchased, downloaded, and at some point I may not have access to them. It is dependent on the publishers. It's dependent on who you have your account with. I do remember a few years ago there was a lot of Amazon accounts that were being cancelled, and people were losing their purchases. I think it was like Kindle accounts, that kind of thing, and people were really sort of kicking off and realizing the vulnerability of having everything rented or borrowed from someone else rather than physically owning something in your hand. Most of my games that I have for older systems, and most of those are pre-online. So I've got a vast collection of Dreamcast games, Super Nintendo games, Atari games, PlayStation, Xbox, Vita, DS, and they are physical cartridges. I own them, and as long as I've got the hardware to play them, I can play them for as long as I like. I'm not relying on anyone else. But in the case of The Crew and Ubisoft, they've decided that maybe it's not doing as well, or it's not financially viable, and they've pulled it, and it has annoyed a lot of people, and it's the start of the way that gaming is going. These online games that rely on servers, other people to play, and once that game falls out of favour, or if the company goes bust, that is it. That is your game. That is your save progress. That is the money you've spent on it, all gone, and there isn't anything you can do about it. 10 years is a pretty decent run for a game. I know that the Crew 2 and there's a third one that is still up, that is still running and available. So I don't understand entirely why people are getting so annoyed by the fact that a 10-year-old game has had its servers taken down, and they basically, well, we paid for this game. Yeah, you paid for a game that you knew was an online only game. At some point, all of these games are going to cease to exist. However much money you've pummeled into it, whether that's Fortnite or whatever the latest Call of Duty Online is, if it's a solely online game, you are totally reliant on other people, companies, servers, multiplayer, and it's the way that the gaming has gone. Single player campaigns seem to be pretty much a non-existent thing, and if they are, they're bolstered by a multiplayer experience alongside it. And it's not the first time we've seen entire platforms like recent news, sort of around the 8th of April. It was Nintendo, they were taking the 3DS and the Wii U platforms offline. So any online games there that either solely relied on it or partly relied on would have been absolutely squashed. And that is the way that the gaming world has developed. Maybe people didn't quite realize it, but if you're reliant on someone else, if you're reliant on another company to keep your game going, and they decide that they don't want to do it anymore, it doesn't matter how much money you've paid for that game or how much you've pummeled in sort of in-game purchases. That is you finished. Um, there are even examples of people where you can buy the game physically. So you've got a disc, but the game is reliant on online servers, and you are then left with this sort of plastic paperweight, an absolutely useless thing that might look nice sitting on your collection, but you can't pop it in your machine and use it because that's it. That game has finished. So this has been around for quite some time, but the news about Ubisoft and the Crew has really sparked this off. It's really brought it to a lot of people's attention, and it is one of those things. It is the way that the world has gone in terms of gaming, and there are plenty of games that haven't hit the news but have had the same thing, and more games which, I mean, there's always been where a console falls out of favour and they'll shut the servers off for certain platforms. So the Xbox 360, I know a lot of their game servers have been shut off, the same with the PS3. Some of the older FIFA games recently, something like FIFA 19, I think it was, were being pulled from having their online capabilities. Doesn't mean you can't play it locally or on your own. That is an example of a game that has both normal play and online play. So the normal play will be there, but there are some games that solely rely on online capabilities, and once that is gone, that is gone. That is a dead game, a game that is no longer available. So, yeah, you don't own your games. That is one of the things I'm trying to say. You, even if you physically purchase it, or even if you pay money for this game, you still don't own it. You kind of license it. You rent it from the company that are allowing you to play it. And when they've had enough, that's it. That's you out. So it's a sad way. Like I say, it's the same thing with streaming services, Spotify. You're at the mercy of them. If they decide to take certain artists off, well, then you can't listen to them anymore. Same with Netflix or Now TV or any of these streaming movie services. Once they decide to take it off, it's gone, and you're at the mercy of them. And it's the same with gaming. It's you're at the mercy of whoever you are using your service through. So, yeah, just a bit of a rant about it's not a new thing, but this Ubisoft, the Crew, has really brought it to the forefront of a lot of people's minds. There we go. Link, like, subscribe, enjoy.